Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media domain.
It was a dreadful thing to do and actually completely wrong. He is quite hard and harsh.
He became hypersensitive and blamed the media for the crashes of his relationship.
Like Meghan will always stay with the man if there's no better option.
And let's just pause there for a second because, oh my God, can you even believe it? The British monarchy, that centuries-old symbol of crowns, carriages, and cold palace walls, now reduced to tabloid drama thanks to none other than Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. They didn't just leave the palace. They practically turned Buckingham into a backdrop for their personal Netflix audition. Privacy? Please. These two practically trademarked their own tears. They swore the world would leave them alone, but every other month they show up with another staged photo shoot, another glossy documentary, another truth bomb interview. They promised us authenticity, but instead we got Hollywood storyboards and PR stunts. And now the irony is thicker than Meghan's perfectly rehearsed smile, because the one thing people actually want clarity on, the one detail that matters most, who their children really are, is the very thing they've wrapped in mystery.
Meghan is using everything for publicity and not really truly there. We know how she treats her family.
Exactly. Meghan didn't marry into the monarchy. She strutted into it like she was up for Best Actress. And Harry? He followed her out like a puppy desperate for attention, tossing centuries of royal tradition straight into the recycling bin in exchange for California paparazzi shots and podcast deals no one asked for. They painted themselves as victims, rebels, martyrs even. But if you peel back the branding, what do you see? Two people cashing in on a family name while dodging transparency like it's radioactive. And just when you thought their empire of excuses couldn't get shakier, Angela Levin comes in with a revelation so sharp it slices their PR spin in half. Questions about Archie and Lilibet's very parentage? Oh, that's not just gossip anymore, that's dynamite.
Diana treated her children. It was very important to care about people and not to think about themselves, and that money didn't matter very much. What did matter was to look after.
Look at Harry now, furious, red-faced, throwing legal threats around like confetti. But let's be honest, it doesn't scream strength, it reeks of panic. Meghan's silence? Don't be fooled into thinking it's dignified. No, it's strategic. She's hiding in the shadows, letting Harry play guard dog while the world sniffs around their secrets. These two thought they could outwit the monarchy, but now they're trapped, cornered by accountability. The very thing they thought they could dodge forever. And oh, the timing. Their wedding anniversary rolled around. Remember how everyone braced themselves for yet another overproduced Netflix-style spectacle? Instead, nothing. Zero. Not a peep from the palace, no Hollywood friends posting sentimental captions, no glossy shots of Meghan arranging flowers in her Santa Barbara kitchen. It was silence, and in this case, silence was not golden. It was humiliating. Harry and Meghan, the couple who once stormed into the spotlight as rebellious rule breakers, were suddenly invisible, forgotten, fading like yesterday's magazine cover. Meghan, the so-called Duchess of Disruption, couldn't even summon the energy to post a staged anniversary snap. Harry, meanwhile, looked less like a prince and more like a man realizing his big royal exit led him straight into a cul-de-sac of irrelevance.
She is so odious, it's beyond belief.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous. These are two really...
And here's where the humiliation really hit. The same couple who once demanded the world's attention found themselves met with complete indifference. Their anniversary wasn't headline news, it wasn't even a talking point. It was a footnote nobody cared to read. And if that wasn't painful enough, it set the perfect stage for the real bomb to drop. Enter Angela Levin. Now this woman didn't mince words, she didn't tiptoe or sugarcoat, she came in with the precision of a seasoned royal watcher and dropped a revelation so explosive it made every glossy photo and staged speech crumble into dust. She suggested out loud what millions had whispered behind closed doors. Archie and Lilibet's parentage might not be what Harry and Meghan want us to believe. Boom! Just like that, the couple who built an empire on our truth suddenly found that truth being used against them like a weapon. And let's be clear, Levin wasn't throwing out petty gossip. She was asking the question everyone else was too cautious, too polite, too terrified to say. Why is there no transparency? Why no hospital moments? Why no adherence to the centuries-old traditions every other royal mother respected?
But if she hasn't had the children herself, or Harry hadn't been involved, then they can't be in the royal line. They have to have royal blood, those little ones. Without that, there's no chance of them becoming a member of the royal.
And the answer? Silence. Deafening, suspicious silence. And in the world of royalty, silence isn't a shield, it's an alarm bell. Levin's words didn't just float in the air like rumors, they detonated as a direct hit on legitimacy. Forget PR stunts, forget Oprah specials, forget glossy Netflix docuseries. This was the kind of accusation that strips the paint off the palace walls. And how did Harry react? Did he calmly present evidence to put the whispers to bed? Did he silence critics with facts? Number. He did what spoiled royals do best. He threatened to sue. That's right, the man who ran from Britain claiming he hated the press now runs straight into lawyers' arms every time someone questions his version of the truth. And here's the delicious irony. Lawsuits don't kill rumors, they pour gasoline on them. The moment Harry launched his threats at Angela Levin, the public didn't say, "Poor Harry." They said, "What's he hiding?"
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of...
And oh, how the harder he fought, the weaker he looked. Every single legal threat wasn't shutting down the whispers. It was fueling them. Because here's the cruel truth. Fury without facts doesn't read as strength. It screams desperation. Harry's tantrum didn't bury the story. It guaranteed the story would go global. And then came the ugliest turn. 3 letters that haunted every headline. DNA. The one thing that could end this circus instantly. The swab of a cheek, a test result, and it's over. But Harry and Meghan, they treated DNA like it was poison. Commentators, journalists, even some of their former defenders started calling for proof. Not glossy pictures, not Oprah tears, not documentary footage, cold, hard, scientific proof. But from Camp Sussex, silence. Again. And this time the silence pointed straight at Lilibet. Poor Lilibet. The child named after the late queen, a symbol of continuity and honor. Instead of strengthening the monarchy's story, her very existence had become the centerpiece of doubt. People began asking if she was even Meghan's biological child, or just another carefully crafted piece of the Sussex PR brand. The whispers alone were enough to shake the idea of succession itself. Because in a monarchy built entirely on bloodline, questions about legitimacy are a nuclear threat. And yet Harry refused the one easy way out. One test, one undeniable answer. Instead, he stomped, he fumed, and he dragged Meghan into deeper suspicion. And Meghan, still silent, letting Harry take the blows while she lingered in the shadows. But every dodged question, every unanswered demand only made the whispers roar louder. For centuries, royal mothers followed a script, painful, public, but clear. You give birth, you step outside the hospital, and you show the baby to the nation. Kate Middleton did it 3 times. Exhausted, yes, but transparent. Meghan, on the other hand, shredded that script. She gave us smoke and mirrors, odd angles in stage photos, and a baby bump that seemed to play by its own mysterious rules. It felt less like royal tradition and more like the season finale of a reality show. And Harry? He stood there grinning like a sidekick, hoping the public wouldn't notice the plot holes. But they did. Oh, they noticed. And those plot holes became fertile ground for the darkest suspicions. Surrogacy, staged imagery, deception. Instead of putting doubts to rest, the Sussexes turned themselves into permanent suspects in a mystery of their own making. And there it is, the hypocrisy in full view. Meghan, the woman who sold herself as the queen of authenticity, suddenly looks like the poster child for artificiality. And Harry, the cheeky prince who once mocked the tabloids for their wild theories, now finds himself at the very center of the ugliest conspiracy of them all. By tossing aside the traditions that gave the monarchy stability, Meghan and Harry didn't modernize it. They destabilized it. Every inconsistency, every dodged moment of honesty became fuel for a fire they couldn't control. Instead of stamping out rumors, they practically built a bonfire and handed out marshmallows. And that's when the conversation shifted. This wasn't about gossip anymore. This wasn't about celebrity spats or Netflix ratings. This was about something far bigger, royal legitimacy itself. The monarchy is nothing without bloodline. That's its entire foundation. Generations of kings and queens have reigned not because of popularity, not because of politics, but because of an unbroken chain of birthrights. And by clouding their children's origins in secrecy, Harry and Meghan put cracks in that very foundation. Meghan once positioned herself as the modern face of royalty, the breath of fresh air that would drag the monarchy into the 21st century. Now, she looks like the architect of its potential collapse. Her silence isn't noble, it's suspicious. Every time she refuses to answer, people don't see dignity, they see guilt. And Harry? He's not the brave soldier, not the bold prince fighting for truth. He looks like a man unraveling, throwing tantrums and legal threats to protect something fragile, something that can't withstand scrutiny. And Angela Levin? She didn't stop with one bombshell. Oh no, she twisted the knife deeper. She reminded the world that if Harry really wants to drag this into a courtroom, he'd better be prepared. Because courtrooms aren't palace gates. They don't bow to royal titles or Hollywood contracts. They deal in cold, hard evidence. Medical records, birth certificates, DNA tests, the very things Harry and Meghan seem terrified of exposing. Imagine it, a judge demanding receipts, cross-examinations forcing answers, the truth dragged out under oath. Truth For a couple addicted to controlling their narrative, the idea of a courtroom stripping that control away must feel like their worst nightmare. But Levin didn't just stop at a warning. She hinted she had more. Oh yes, much more. Information tucked away, evidence locked and loaded like ammunition waiting for the right moment. While Harry swung blindly in rage, Levin made it clear she wasn't finished. And the public? They leaned in closer, hanging on her every word. And then came the fallout. Media giants who once fell over themselves to sign Meghan and Harry suddenly started pulling back. Contracts collapsed, deals evaporated. The golden couple of Montecito started looking less like a safe bet and more like a liability. Meghan, who had styled herself as Hollywood royalty, began to find doors quietly closing. The red carpets weren't rolling out anymore. The invitations were fewer. Harry, who once thought his royal name guaranteed influence, discovered that without credibility, a title means nothing. Angela Levin's warning wasn't just a personal attack. It was a spotlight shining directly on their unraveling empire. Because here's the brutal truth. If the facts ever come out in court, if DNA tests or medical records are forced into the light, Harry and Meghan won't just lose face. They'll lose everything. Their image, their brand, their carefully constructed truth. All of it could collapse overnight. It's tragic in a way. Meghan once styled herself as a modern Diana, a humanitarian princess breaking old molds. Harry once played the part of the cheeky, rebellious prince who could charm anyone. Together, they promised to redefine royalty. But what did we get instead? Two ex-royals clinging to the scraps of credibility while their empire crumbles around them. The deals are drying up. The media is pulling back. Even Hollywood, once eager to parade Meghan as its newest darling, is shutting its golden gates. And Harry? Without the monarchy, without credibility, without public trust? What is he? Just another angry man waving his last royal card, hoping someone still cares enough to listen. But here's the real kicker. This isn't just about their downfall. It's about the future of the monarchy itself. If Parliament is ever forced to intervene, if lawmakers demand clarity on royal bloodlines, the fallout could be catastrophic. It would drag the mystique of the crown into the mud of politics and courtrooms, a place it's never meant to be. And once that mystique is gone, can the monarchy ever truly recover? One test, one swab, one undeniable answer. That's all it would take to silence every critic. And yet, they run from it. They run as if the truth itself would burn their empire to ash. Maybe it would. Maybe deep down, Harry and Meghan know that exposure would erase whatever credibility they have left. And that's why this scandal refuses to die. Because until there's proof, until the whispers are silenced by facts, suspicion will follow them like a shadow. It will follow their children, their titles, their every move. And in a monarchy built on trust and bloodline, suspicion is lethal. Angela Levin didn't just expose cracks in their story, she exposed the possibility that the monarchy itself might not survive those cracks. And for Meghan and Harry, no amount of Netflix contracts, no amount of staged photos, no amount of carefully curated speeches can plaster over that kind of damage. The world isn't asking for fairy tales anymore. It's asking for proof. And the longer they run from it, the louder the world will demand it. Because in the end, there's one truth the Sussexes can't escape. You can't build an empire on secrets, not when the crown itself is at stake.